And NFL football is just a month away, and I'm super excited. So I wanted to give you guys my season-long player props. We're doing passing, we're doing receiving, we're doing rushing. I might even do win totals if you guys want to see that. Make sure to comment down below if you do, like the video and such. And man, preseason is starting. I love the NFL. This is the greatest time of the year. So like I said, we got passing, receiving, and rushing player props, season-long player props. I'm going to have 3 overs and 1 under. I'm going to give you a little bit of an idea why I do like these props, why I don't like these props. So let's get right into it. First with the passing props. As you can see here, I got Anthony Richardson over 3,125.5 yards. Now, obviously, if he stays healthy for all 17 games, which probably won't happen, but if he does, it's an average of 183 yards per game. Obviously, Anthony Richardson got hurt 4 games into last season, but he did get to sit behind Gardner Minshew, who is a good vet, and he could learn from him the whole season, basically. So this going in is virtually his rookie season, but he has a year of experience of sitting behind a vet and a really good coach in Shane Steichen. And if you remember, Shane Steichen was the coach a couple years ago, or the offense coordinator, sorry, of the Eagles a couple years ago when they went to the Super Bowl, and Jalen Hurts was in the running for MVP. And a lot of people's criticism of Jalen Hurts, similarly to Anthony Richardson, is that he can only run. He's not a very great passing quarterback. But Jalen Hurts shut out all those haters. And I think Anthony Richardson has a very, very similar possibility or a similar outcome that can come from that. Another thing I want to say about Anthony Richardson, he was running a lot. He got injured, I think, 2 or 3 times in just 4 games. He had to exit the game 2 times, I believe. And it was from him running the football. I do think there's going to be a concerted effort to try and keep Anthony Richardson in the pocket a little bit more. Now, obviously, Joe Burrow went through this. He got injured his first year when he was running a lot, taking a lot of big hits. Same with Anthony Richardson just 4 games in. I think Shane Steichen is a very good head coach, and he will be able to scheme things up to make it very, very easy for Anthony Richardson. And the Colts also have a pretty good receiving core. They got Michael Pittman Jr., who you'll see later in this video. They got Alec Pierce. They just drafted Josh Downs, I believe, last year, and they got J.D. Mitchell, I believe is his name, in the draft this season. So that's why I love Anthony Richardson. Next on the list, I got Baker Mayfield for 3,500 yards. So Baker Mayfield's line is 3,500 yards, and he blew past this. He was over 4,000 this past season. And he got a brand new contract with the Buccaneers. Mike Evans is back. Chris Godwin will be back. And I don't see how he doesn't go over this number unless he gets hurt. He's not trying to prove himself for a new contract, but Baker Mayfield has always had chips on his shoulder. People always doubted him. So I don't think that would be a big... I don't think that would be a factor of a letdown season that he has a contract this year. I think that he's going to blow past this number. He might end up with, 3,800. So this is very, very good line for me. One thing I do worry about is the Buccaneers lost their offense coordinator to, I believe, the Titans because he's their new head coach. So that could be a little bit of a question mark. If you don't want to bet this, I understand. Baker Mayfield, he still has a chip on his shoulder. People are still doubting this guy. He has 2 great wide receivers. He's going to be perfectly fine. And the third over I have is Bryce Young, over 3,200 yards. This guy had a terrible rookie season. He had no help at all, virtually. Offensive line was Swiss cheese. This is a big buy low spot on the guy. They got Xavier Legette, who I think twisted his knee in training camp, but he should be fine. They got Deontay Johnson from the Steelers, and they had Alan Thielen. They got Alan Thielen last year. They have a pretty decent wide receiver core, decent. Miles Sanders is a pretty decent running back who can catch the ball out of the backfield. They got a new head coach who means business. Bryce Young, I'm telling you, this is a very, very good buy low spot. I'm not saying the Panthers are going to win a bunch of games, but Bryce Young he's going to have a pretty good sophomore season. He went through a lot of learning. He got beat up all year his rookie season. He saw C.J. Stroud go off through 4,000 yards, the greatest rookie season of a quarterback of all time. Bryce Young has a little chip on his shoulder. People saw him walking in training camp, look like a little kid. He's going to come out and ball. And the under for the quarterback passing yard props is Jordan Love under 3,825 yards. Now, I am a little skeptical on Jordan Love. I know he passed for, I think, 4,000 yards this past season. But to me, his first half of the season wasn't anything special. And I have a tough time putting money on a guy that played good for 9 games. I don't know how you'll have that much confidence. This might be a contrarian pick, just going against the grain, maybe. And even if he might have a great season, and 3,700 yards is a very, very good season for a second-year starting quarterback. I just think this number might be a little inflated because everybody loves the Packers this year. Jordan Love had a great, great second half of the season last season. I think their schedule is very, very difficult. They play a lot of good defenses. Jordan Love, like I said, I just have a tough time putting money on a quarterback that only performed to an elite level, like this says, almost 4,000 yards, for only half a season. Now, I'm not low on Jordan Love. I do think he's a good quarterback, but like I said, I believe this number is just a little too high. Alrighty, now on to the wide receiver receiving props. This one was a lot of fun for me, and I'm very confident on all 4 of these picks. First, I got DK Metcalf over 950 yards. Now, he's been in the league for 5 years, 5 seasons, and he's been over this line 4 years. The only year he didn't go over this line was his rookie season, and he had 900 yards, so he was basically there. Now, I have a couple things to say about DK Metcalf and the Seattle Seahawks in general. They got a new head coach, obviously. Pete Carroll's out. They got Mike McDonald. They got the OC from the Washington Huskies, which was Michael Penix's offensive coordinator the past 2 seasons. I mean, what do you expect from him? They were a high volume passing offense. They ran it when they needed to. They can do that with Zach Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker. Geno Smith might have a great season. He had a good season, comeback player of the year. Kind of took a step back. He was injured a little bit all season, on and off and on. And this is his 3rd season. I think it's his 3rd season with Seahawks. Anyways, I expect high numbers in the passing game this season. I don't know how many wins the Seahawks will end up with because their defense needed some help stopping the run, and it's a first-year head coach. But this offense is going to be very, very explosive, especially Geno Smith has proved this in the past. And number 2, I got Michael Pittman Jr. over 975 yards. This guy is a stud. Let me look up how many yards he had last season. I think it was about 1,000. He was the only guy doing anything for the Colts this past season. Now, I do know they got A.D. Mitchell. They got Alec Pierce another year. They got Josh Downs, who is an explosive downfield wide receiver. But this dude is clearly their number 1. He's their best guy. He's big, strong. He loves boobs, if you've seen the meme. This guy is clearly going over this number. I don't know why it's so low. Maybe it's because the books are not super high on Anthony Richardson. Let me look this up. Maybe it's because the books are not very high on Anthony Richardson, but I love this. He had 1,152 yards this past season. I don't see how he doesn't get over 975 yards. I don't have much to say on Michael Pittman Jr. except he is a stud. You need to draft him in fantasy. You need to bet this. He's going over. Now, 3rd on this list is Garrett Wilson, over 1,125 receiving yards. And I don't see how he doesn't get this if Aaron Rodgers plays a full season. This honestly seems pretty easy for him. The only thing, like I said, that would scare me is if Aaron Rodgers is a little old. He's almost 40 if he gets hurt. But he had 1,142 with Zack fucking Wilson throwing the football. If he can do that with Zack Wilson, he's going to get 1,400 with Aaron Rodgers. He might be a sneaky bet to lead the league in receiving yards. I'm going to be honest here. And the one under for wide receivers I have is Tyler Lockett. Now, I know up there with DK, you can say I'm contradicting myself, but I'm not. Here's what I'm thinking with Tyler Lockett. He's going to be 32 by the end of the season. He's getting old, and I'm not hating on him. I love Tyler Lockett. He's always been good for the Seahawks. He's getting older. He's smaller. He might get hurt. I know he's been pretty good at not getting hit. But the main point I want to make here is Jackson Smith and Jigba. The rookie out of Ohio State last season, he came on very, very strong at the end of the year, and I think he is going to hop Tyler Lockett and take the wide receiver 2 on the Seattle Seahawks. Jackson Smith and Jigba had, I believe, 750-ish yards or 700 yards around there, and he really only got catches the second half of the season. I just find it tough to see Tyler Lockett getting a bunch of targets this season with DK, who I think is going to take a big jump, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who I think is going to take a big jump, Boba, who was a rookie last year as well, big guy, big white guy, I think he's going to take a huge jump. I just think Tyler Lockett's getting older in age. I just don't see a lot of targets going his way. So now on to the running backs rushing yards. I feel very confident about 3 of these 4. I'll let you know who I don't feel super confident in as we go down the list. But first, we got Josh Jacobs over 925 yards. This dude, newly on the Packers, obviously was on the Raiders for the past 5 seasons. Last year, he was a little banged up. He only played 13 games and ended with 805 rushing yards. But this Packers offensive line is full of studs. He's coming back for vengeance because the Raiders didn't want to pay him. He's going to want to prove him wrong. He's going to want to get paid. I've always been a big fan of Josh Jacobs, and 925 yards seems a little low. He's hit this mark in 3 of his 5 seasons. Like I said, this Packers offense line is no joke. He's clearly the lead running back. I think Austin Dillon is still there, but Josh Jacobs is levels above him. He's going to be a 3-down back. He's going to get all the carries. I love this number for Josh Jacobs. Like I said, I've always been a fan of his. I think he's going to have a chip on his shoulder, trying to prove the Raiders wrong and prove that he is still one of the best, because people were kind of saying that he's a little injury prone last season. He's getting older. He's 26, will be 27. But I think this number is just way too low for him. I feel really confident about it. Here's the one I'm a little bit iffy on. Travis Etienne, I believe, had Liz Frank surgery last season or 2 seasons ago. So he might be a little bit slower. The last 2 seasons, he had 1,100 and 1,000 yards. So he went over this pretty easy. Trevor Lawrence is going to have to prove his contract. So I don't know. I like it. It's a good line for him. I'm just not super confident. I don't know what I can't really sell it on you guys. Maybe I shouldn't put it up here, but I do like it. I'm probably 65%. I like it. The other ones are 85% I love. But Travis Etienne, over 900 yards. He went over it his first 2 seasons. He has been banged up a little bit, I believe, just on and on. But there it is. Now, I love this one. Najee Harris, over 800 rushing yards. This dude has been in 1,000 yards every single season, I believe. 1,200, 1,000. All 3 seasons that he's played, he's been over this line by 200 yards. I don't understand why it's so low. Everybody's hyping up Jaylen Warren. Jaylen Warren is not Najee Harris. Najee Harris he's the lead back. He's going to get, 18 carries a game, 15, 16, 17, 18 carries a game. He's a dog. He's proven himself. The Steelers didn't pick up his 5th-year option. He's going to be proving himself. He's going to be running this team. He's going to be leading this team in rushing yards. 800 is super, super low for him. We need to hammer this before it goes up. Like I said, he's going to have a chip on his shoulder. Steelers did not give him his 5th-year option. He's never really been hurt either. I'm truly confused why this is 800 yards. It might be because the books and people think Jaylen Warren's going to take carries away. But when it comes down to it, Mike Tomlin knows who his guy is. It's Najee freaking Harris. You can see him in training camp. He has an attitude. He looks super good. He looks fast. I'm hammering. This is my favorite season-long bet of the season. And my under is Zack Moss, under 725 yards. He had a good season filling in for Jonathan Taylor with the Colts. He's not going to do that this year. Chase Brown, he was a rookie last year out of Illinois, I believe. Great little running back, fast as hell. He's going to take tons of carries away from Zack Moss. I think he might even be better than Zack Moss. Zack Moss filled in for me in fantasy, and he played very, very good last year. I just don't see it. Also, they didn't use Joe Mixon as much as they should have. What are you expecting them to use Zack Moss more than they used Joe Mixon? I mean, come on now. He's not even, in my opinion, he might not even be the best running back on their team. Joe Burrow throws the ball 45 times a game. There's not going to be very many carries to go around, especially splitting the carries. Zack Moss, under 725 yards. He's a good running back, decent backup, I guess. But they got a split backfield. And like I said, Joe Burrow throws the ball 45 times a game. Zack Moss, under 725 rushing yards. This is also one of my favorite plays of the year. Now, thank you guys for watching. Make sure you guys leave down below what you guys think of these player props. And let me know what player props you guys are rocking. Make sure to subscribe, like, and everything.